Hey guys, welcome back. I am Jason Salyer. You guys know me, and this crew here is a wealth of knowledge, and it's rare that we've got all of these guys in the same place at the same time. And we're just kind of getting together and having some basic conversations. And if you guys don't mind introducing yourselves real quick, that would be fantastic.
Who are you?
My name's Alan. I'm a Leo. I enjoy moonlit walking on the beach.
Yeah.
A nice Cabernet Sauvignon with a full-bodied cheese. My other hobbies include wilderness survival and spearing cute animals.
Spearing cute animals. And underwater basket weaving.
And then consuming.
Don't forget underwater basket weaving. That one's important.
Also breakdancing. I do some of that.
You're
I
up.
just can't follow that. I'm Tyler with TJack Survival, and also all of us with Survival Dispatch. I've got military, law enforcement background, primitive survival skills. And other than that, I'm just not funny.
You're not funny.
You are funny, just not on demand.
Not funny, but
And Bear, who are you?
I'm Bear with BearIndependent.com. Camera lady.
That was funny.
That was good. Leave it in. I'm Bear with BearIndependent.com. I also own Refuge Medical and Refuge Training. We teach people the fine art of how to not die. And I live in the woods with a bunch of people that I love with sheep and goats and chickens, and we raise our own food, raise our own kids, and talk a lot about preparedness and faith.
All right, so the question I have for you guys is this. With the world getting crazy, and getting weirder, you know what I'm talking about. Getting weirder every day, right? I think there's more and more people than ever getting involved in the prepping community, right? If that's what we want to label it as.
Preparedness, maybe.
Preparedness community.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Continue with
You
your
get what I'm saying. Anyway, more and more people are getting interested in this kind of stuff. And the biggest question probably that most people have is the overwhelming question of how do you get started? Let's say you're that suburbanite, right? You live in the middle of this neighborhood surrounded by people, and you're starting to get concerned about the situation in the world. What the heck do you do?
I got something for this.
Go. Okay.
I'm going to use the vague example, and then I'll get specific. The vague example is when you eat an elephant, you eat it one bite at a time. The specifics are you pick something, fire, water, shelter, food, communication, medical, something, go down that rabbit hole. When you're bored, go to the next one. Keep it interesting. Learn friction fire, learn fire lays, learn all that fun stuff. Learn water, learn how to boil water first, right? Learn how to filter water, learn the differences in the filters and why we pull out biological contaminants and why we pull out chemical contaminants. Shelter, start with the clothes that you're wearing. Go to bigger shelters, go into camping. Food, blah, 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 you get the point. Pick a topic, learn something about it,
And then
go
move on to
till
the
you're
next.
bored and grab something else. And then you come back to fire later. Maybe this time around you do hand drills or fire pistol or whatever. So pick something.
So food, fire, water, shelter,
Yeah.
master a skill, move on to the next.
all this stuff that you need to stay. Survivalists don't die.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so if survivalists don't die, then ask the most logical question: what's going to kill me first? And then work on that. It's just risk mitigation.
Gotcha.
So once you have a basic framework for your objective, then you can pick what's right for you in your area, in your financial situation, your whatever. I don't care if you live in an apartment in a city. You find a way to heat it if it gets cold. Or if you live out in the backcountry, it's going to be a little easier to use fire. When you got your own problems, you have to have a framework that you can come up with your own solutions. Because what I got and where I live doesn't work here. And what you guys are doing here, it's not going to work where I live. But we're still doing the same thing.
Gotcha. Okay. So, new person to preparedness, finally waking up to the world getting weird. What do they do first?
I agree with that, but they do have to, instead of just randomly pick something, they have to kind of like a triage, look at the situation and do a order of priority here. Water is usually number one. So I wouldn't go straight to friction fire. I'd probably get the water fixed first. I think the overlooked part, we've talked about most of this stuff, but the overlooked part is the human terrain. People don't think enough about human terrain.
Yep.
They think about the physical terrain, where are we going to put the garden, where are we going for water, but like what type of people are around you, and both good and bad, liabilities and assets, like what's the prevailing, could there be religious tensions, could there be blood feuds between familial groups, could it Could it
And when
be?
resources become a premium,
Now you're in
one's
the
gonna-
competition
yeah.
for resources. So understanding the people that are around you and which box do they fit in? Are they an asset? Are they a liability? Oftentimes they're both. They're a mixture of both of those things.
People will be your biggest problems
Yeah,
and your
100%
biggest assets.
at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like
All
a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's one that really gets overlooked is the people aspects of it. You really got to have people skills. When you're dealing and living in austerity with all the stress that's going to be around that.
Would you say you're a people person, Alan?
No, I am and I'm not.
Yes,
know
you
that.
are. Yeah,
Like,
you're-
I would give a
we know.
stranger
Yeah.
the last bite of food I had,
Yeah.
shirt off my back. But at the same time, people just generally have pissed me off for decades now, and they just fail over and over. And it's like it's getting worse.
Yeah.
No common sense. Handshakes don't mean anything. People just backstab each other. And I'm a rising tide raises all ships kind of guy. I'm always looking at, before I do something, how is that going to affect the people around me in my community? If it doesn't bring everybody a step forward, then I'm going to back up and look at it. And how do we advance together?
Yeah.
Because your ego is not your amigo, and it's not about.
Gosh,
you.
that's a good shirt.
It's not about you. It's not about anything. For me, it's about my kids. We got to train our replacements. What kind of people are we going to leave behind for the next generation? And what type of water are we leaving them? What type of land are we leaving them? We're not being good stewards of what we have. So that we need to work on that, I think.
I think it's really cool that you admit when it comes to people in general, nah, but you also acknowledge the importance of people, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who are like, you don't understand, Bear, I'm just not a people person. And I've just got tired of addressing that.
Yeah.
It's like, you, generally speaking, fix yourself, find better people, or move.
Yeah.
Not a lot of options
It's
there.
not.
And if everybody around you is an a-hole, you're probably the a-hole. Like that's if you can't find somebody to get along with, it's probably
you.
So fix the problem in the mirror, right? And I could say that because I've been an a-hole most of my life. So
Well, you can't change people, but you can change yourself. You
Right.
can change your perspective and your attitude.
and you can
the way
also
dress.
choose how you interact with
Yeah.
those people.
And if you start off thinking this person's a douchebag and they got that douchebag vibe coming from you, that's probably not them that's the problem.
Part of my problem is I expect too much out of people. Like I have higher standards.
Yep.
What I think, And so I got some really good advice not too long ago from someone who's in the corporate world. He said, manage your expectations. And with that little shift in my mind, you know what? That makes perfect sense. Manage your expectations. Most people in modern America are grabmastic, self-serving.
Yep.
And once you know that, then you can manage it. Like if at first you don't succeed, lower your standards. I've been doing that my whole life. Sometimes you shoot too high. Like in the survival world,
I'm
they
laughing, but it's
want to
true.
build a shelter, they try to build a cabin. I'm like, no, you need to build a cocoon, like a coffin.
Right.
Like, dial it back a little bit here,
So I've got a good friend, Travis, the NWA prepper, to your point earlier about identify what your weak points are and then start firming those up. He does a thing where every month he has a prepping budget. I thought this was brilliant. And 1 month it's medical, 1 month it's water, 1 month it's fire, 1 month it's food, whatever. And he just rotates through all these things. And so he's constantly checking back on these key core concepts that he's identified. And his budget, and which is not just money, which is why I don't like the term prepper, because most preppers just buy stuff and throw it in a bag or a closet and think they're good to go.
Yeah.
All right? I much prefer preparedness over prepper.
Instead, it assumes education.
Right.
If there's anything that every realm, from shooters to preppers to outdoor survivalists, is missing, it's information and education.
So,
which is born of field experience.
well, what I find now, with all of this that's available to us, right? People don't suffer from a lack of information. We live in the age of Google, it's there. You suffer from a lack of execution. You know what to do, you're just trying to find the right personality to motivate you today so that you'll actually go do it. That's your problem.
The concepts are all there and easy accessed,
Go do.
but the practical application is
The
very
freedom that
lacking.
comes
Go
from
do.
knowledge should be what's motivating.
Yep. Yeah.
And there's a lack of wisdom. People know a lot of stuff, but if you can't apply the knowledge, what good is
When
that?
to do the thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, when,
And
where,
how do you learn that? by going and doing and failing now where it's not mission critical, so that when you need it, when you're in the woods or in the canyon and you lost your big lighter, you know how to make the fire so that you stay warm, right? And so it's a lack of execution is what I see, not a lack of information. The information at this point is commoditized. It's just presented by whatever personality it is that you relate with, right? Like, I like Jason. I'm going to watch Jason's channel because I like what he says, blah, 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 which is great.
Jason's funny.
He is funny.
I am funny.
He does have that going on.
Yeah. And I'm good looking.
Hey, that keg of beer goes up here.
See if they looked at him like, really?
Wait a minute, really?
You're supposed to put it up there?
I'm going to show you guys how to do that. You throw it up over your shoulder and just carry it. So, 10-4. So I don't think it's a lack of information. I think it's a lack of execution. And I think once you, like I said, kind of round robin that, identify what your key issues are, deal with it, then move on, then come back around, check on it, check on it, check on it. And the other thing I'd say is if you're new to preparedness, stop freaking out.
Yeah.
Like your
got time.
pants are not on fire. Like take a deep breath. And if there's anything out there that's contributing you to, your high blood pressure and your anxiety and all that, you choose to consume that, stop. Execute on what you have in front of you, make forward progress. I like to say that anxiety beats action. Action beats anxiety, right? So if I'm anxious about this thing, I need to go do something about it. Then I can go, I dealt with that, I'm going to quit worrying about it, on to the next thing. And so we do not need to be a bunch of fanatical people running around with their hair on
Freaking
fire.
out.
Did you see the thing on the news that made all the... Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
Same person that bought all the toilet paper.
And don't create your own tragedy.
Well, it was me that bought all the toilet paper, by the way.
Nice.
We buy stuff by the pallet in Bear Camp.
my
Am I
toilet paper
kidding?
right
I ain't
It's
kidding.
your fault.
Water. We're good. You run that toilet paper?
Most people in preparedness that would consider themselves really well prepared actually are not, and they're sitting on a tragedy, and they usually create that tragedy themselves.
Yep.
I know a lot of situations where there's family in a nearby city and their plans to come to some rural relatives, but they haven't pre-positioned any supplies up there. They don't have.
They're just going to drive.
And they're just going to drive up there like normal.
Figure it out.
Just put it on.
The old I'm coming to your house line.
Yeah. So if they're coming,
yeah.
then they need to pre-position things there. They need a realistic plan of how to get there. And how are those people going to be now received into the community? Who are these new people drinking out of the creek and killing the deer?
Yep.
And all those lines of friction between people that's where the violence will come from. It'll be competition for resources.
That's such a complicated thing.
Yeah.
And difficult to handle.
It is.
That probably, I would say, more than anything, is my problem. Is you've got family, friends, all in fairly close proximity, a couple hour drive away, something like that. But morally, could you possibly turn those types of people away? Your family and your friends.
Absolutely.
Could
I
you
told
do
you
it?
for 20 years that you need to do it and you didn't do it,
Yeah.
you did that to yourself. It's not on me.
That is correct. I absolve myself of responsibility for you once I've given you the tools and information you need to execute on it.
Yeah.
And I've told my mom, who I love, there is not a chance in hell I'm taking a single bite of food out of my daughter's mouth to put it into yours. Because I'm responsible for her. She's under my cover. You're not under my covering. You have your own means. You have your own resources. I've told you what to do. Now it's on you to do it.
So it's drawing a hard line.
Yep. Because if you don't, otherwise people will push that line. They'll push that. You manage your expectations, right? I am telling you up front what I expect out of you in order for you to be a part of this.
And if we can teach them now,
Yep.
that shouldn't be a problem,
Yep.
theoretically.
Theoretically.
Expectations.
What we need more of it in the country as a whole and in our communities is selfless service.
Agreed.
Our worldview should not be about me first. It should be about we first. And you should be the last, especially if you're a man. You're the last consideration. Like that's it. Kids first, then your wife, then you're last. That's it.
Yeah.
Leaders eat last. Like that's it. Take care of your people first. And if you have that kind of mind and you have that kind of heart, then that's contagious in a community. People will string together, and little things go a long way. Just a little bit of kindness, a little more patience. That's not sexy to talk about because it's not a gun or a knife.
You
Most
can't
of the
buy that.
best
You have
quality
to do
information.
that.
But all that stuff is like, that's where it's at.
Yep.
If you miss that, then nothing else is going to matter.
Yep.
It's just not.
I agree.
What are we surviving for? What kind of quality of life are we going to have? What are we leaving behind? What's your legacy? Like that kind of stuff.
Well, and that comes back to as well. If you're new to preparedness, what's the mission? What am I surviving for, right? Mm-hmm. And my whole thing is to perpetuate normalcy for the people that I love.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to do.
I like that.
Yep.
That's pretty good. That's the whole point, right?
Yep.
Correct.
That's why we do what we do.
Correct.
I want to see the people I love warm and fed.
Yep.
And we won't start none, and there won't be none. That's just kind of how it is. We keep ourselves, and I think there's a disparity of how people prepare. There's all this hyper focus on guns and tactics and all this stuff. But even in a war zone, you ain't shooting every day. But you're gonna want that. You're gonna want the outhouse available every day. You're gonna want some caloric intake every day. You're gonna want a sleep cycle. So all that stuff is a guarantee. You're gonna do that in normal life. Why not go ahead and ensure that?
Yep.
I want to continue to do those things, and we rely on such a disjointed, fragile system to meet those needs. It's like Sam Culper says a lot. It's dangerous to rely on someone else's infrastructure.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing. You're seeing that now because we don't make the little widgets here. They're halfway around the world. You've got stuff that's not happening
Sitting
here.
in the bay over in LA right now.
Just piled up.
Yep.
And I want to localize everything. I want my food to come locally. I want the economics to be local, trade amongst ourselves, and we basically already doing that kind of in our valley. So you're not going to fix this system. This system is dying, and it will die, and there's nothing any of us can do to stop that.
Historically speaking, it's going to happen.
You ain't going to take back America. You ain't going to reinstate the Constitution. You're not doing any of that. All you're going to do is soften the blow. It's that awkward moment when you realize, oh yeah, we're going to crash into that, and I can't stop it and I can't steer out of it. I'm just going to kind of like hit the brakes and hope for the best. That's where we are right now, and see what happens after the dust settles. But you just got to take care of the basics. Everybody's got all these out there ideas about the reality of surviving. It's just a lot of boredom.
Yeah. Tedious, mindless, hard work.
Last security deployment I was on, the last few months of that, my job was with another man to sit in a position and watch a gate for 12 hours, and we had the night shift. You talk about just tick, talk, that kind of thing. But somebody's got to do it, because as sure as you don't, the one night somebody's not there, then bad's going to happen, right?
Yep. Throw an RPG at your back gate.
Bad guy can do it anytime, and you have to be right every day, all day.
Yep.
And that vigilance that it takes, and just that grind and that monotony, how mundane all that is, that will arguably take a toll on people more than anything else.
Agreed.
They're going to reach a point where they just don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I want something that feels normal, and you're never going to go back to that.
And that's the thing. When I say perpetuate normalcy for the people that I love, it doesn't mean all the shiny things, right? It's, do we have food? Do we have shelter? Do we have water? Do we have community, right? Do we have each other? Are my kids going to make it through this thing or not, right? The answer to that is yeah. Hell yeah.
And the elders in your community, like, who's taking care of that?
Yep.
You got the 80-year-old neighbor, and you're
Can't
an
just
able-bodied man. Well, guess
forget
what? You just got another mouth to feed. Dude. That's
We've
your
got
job.
from brand new to 83 years old within our neighborhood, and we are all enmeshed is the word I use. Enmeshed. You cannot simply just pull one person out of the thing. Like, when somebody goes on a trip or they're out of town for work or something, it's like, because they are the critical infrastructure is them. It's that person.
Yep.
All right.
That is our greatest resource, are the people in our lives. That's it. Like, if I told you, you know what, you got stage 4 cancer, you're dead in 3 months, what would matter to you after having that conversation?
Right.
If that was real, you go straight to your kids, right? That's all that really matters anyway, because that could be the reality. So, I mean, if you were to get that news, just play that mind game with yourself. If they told you, dude, you got a week to live, what would matter?
Yep.
And that's really all that does matter.
Okay.
That's all that's real anyway. The rest is just static, man.
Beautiful.
Well, I think in order to keep this video from going too long, I'd like to try to summarize if you guys could help me.
Sure.
So we've got new people that are finally waking up to the need to be more prepared for tough times. And if we want to make life to continue on as normal as possible, and when supplies and the world's gone crazy around us, what we can do, primarily what I'm hearing what I'm hearing, what I gathered is we really need to build up relationships with the people that are close to us, family, friends, neighbors, because those are the people that we're going to need to be reliant upon. And then from there, we can basically start chipping away at checklists and not getting, don't go out and spend all of your savings on.
There's so much you can do that's just education based.
Learn the skills one at a time until you've kind of mastered them and move on to the next, and then start acquiring some of those things that
You'll
will
never
help you
end
keep
doing
life normal-ish.
Yep.
And you're never going to be perfect. You're never going to have everything you need. There's always going to be something. But if you can help, and your family and friends can probably help you with this, but recognize where your weaknesses might be and pinpoint those things so you can work on that
Intimate knowledge of yourself. You have to know yourself, and you have to seek constant improvement.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do in life.
Does that kind of sum it up?
Amen.
Kind of what we talked about?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, guys. Hey, I really appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you next time.